Hello, everyone. This is Win Sports, and I am Abdullah Konte here with Skylar Nelson. And we're here to talk about the Commanders preseason game that's coming up tomorrow, Monday Night Football, against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm here with our beat writer, Skylar, and we're just here to kind of just talk about the week as well as talk about kind of what we're expecting in the game or things that we're looking out for the game. And, obviously we don't care too much about the final score. We're kind of just, this is a period where we're kind of checking to see how these guys do. But essentially, yeah, we're just trying to just kind of give our take on how we expect the game to go, or what we're looking for in regards to the game. So, yeah, Skylar, how you doing? First off,
I'm doing good. It's
you're in the
Sunday.
car,
I'm in a different location. I'm kind of out with my family a little bit, but
Yeah, no, I get that.
Sunday,
No.
Sunday's always a fun
Sunday
day.
fun day, I know you went to church, you got to go do that. You got to be
Yes.
out and about, so, hopefully it's not too hot out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, I basically kind of wanted to talk about the offense first. I guess we'll just talk about, kind of things that we're expecting. First off, DQ announced that, a decent amount of guys aren't coming. We
Yeah.
get, let's first talk about the fact that Adam Schefter was at practice yesterday.
Yes.
Are you anticipating a Terry deal coming? Because, it was pretty much a surprise to all of us that he was out there. So,
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
Honestly, when I first saw Adam and I was standing next to some of our colleague reporters from other publications, I was like, is that who I think it is? And he had
Yeah,
said on
yeah.
Twitter, like, this is not, he's like, he made it so clear. He's like, I swear I'm not here about Terry. But at the same time,
Hmm.
to show up 2 days before an NFL preseason game, I was a little confused. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've heard of that from an insider like that before, unless they announced it, but that was something that came to a total shock to all of us. I think a deal is coming. I think Terry is going to be settling for something. He may not get exactly what he wants, but I think they're getting closer, especially since he was just activated off of the public. I think he's getting closer to where fans want them to be at a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that neither side would be happy because they're probably going to feel like they overpaid him. He's probably going to feel
Yeah.
like he's not paid enough. But I think that's the normalcy of a negotiation. It's kind of meeting in the middle, but it sounds
Yeah.
like they're getting closer. I would say because you had come to me and told me Adam Schefter was here, and I was kind of like, nah, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even believe it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I honestly didn't believe it. And it was like multiple people who had said it. And I was kind of like, is this like you know what I mean? Are we supposed to announce this? Because I didn't hear about it anywhere.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if it was like a secret or something,
Yeah.
and
I was a
it
little
is,
nervous,
to
not
me, it
gonna
is.
lie. I was a little
Yeah, no, of
nervous. I was
course,
like,
right?
why is he here? But that's the thing is like,
Yeah.
Adam does show up, like, don't grant it. He does show up to some games and some practices, especially like those big top games you're
Hmm.
talking about. The Commanders and the Bengals, despite it being preseason. I get it. But at the same time, to me, things just were aligning a little bit too much. It was just a
Well, it's just,
coincidence.
like you said, it's preseason. Like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like, because I get it. I
Yeah.
get, and he's not really like a on the sideline type person. Like, it would
Yeah.
even make sense if he was like a sideline reporter that kind of breaks news. Like, it just kind of was weird to see him there because it was not, even if it was one of the open practices where there's a lot of fans or something, and they had like other ESPN people, personalities talking, but it was
Yeah.
just so weird because it was just like a very basic, like boring practice. Like, there wasn't a lot happening. It was more of like a glorified walkthrough, and just seeing him there was kind of like, well, I think everybody's just like antennas kind of went up. Yeah, essentially all I just thought was it was just kind of weird for him to be there. Like, I think it's something where it does make me feel more confident that a deal is coming. I don't
Yes.
know if it will or not, but just seeing him out there, I was kind of like, this was weird. It was just very weird, but at the same time, sometimes people show up. I mean, we've seen other players or other like media people who show up, and maybe they're just doing their due diligence of like checking out different teams just periodically or whatnot. But
Right.
it was odd. So we both believe a deal's coming soon. Hopefully, him coming off the pub list. We think something's going on. So that being said, I mean, look, the offense is we've been hearing reports from other people, other media outlets that the offense has been struggling. So,
Yes.
obviously I'm not at every practice, mainly just because I have a day job. You are out there a little bit more than me, but we've also, I also was, when I was out there, it was kind of a walkthrough, but I was kind of asking around people about the offense. So I'll let you talk and tell me what you think about the offense, and are you expecting them to have more success in this preseason game or not?
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out about the offense is, I feel like there's only so much that Jaden Daniels can do. I mean, obviously he's the quarterback, but I do feel like there's certain things that are out of his control. I will say, one thing I want to mention is Lermy Tunsil will not be playing in the preseason game.
That's right.
So that's going to shift the offense a little bit more. We did speak to Tyler Binyes. Is that his last name?
Biotish.
Biotish. We spoke to him last week, and he seemed pretty pumped about the preseason game and just things going on. We also won't see guys on the defensive line either, like Bobby Wagner, Lermy Tunsil. So, I mean, not Lermy Tunsil, Von Miller.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
going to be, whether or not the offense, succeeds or not, it's by its own reach. I think Dan Quinn did this to say, okay, let's take care of those veterans because Zach Ertz is not going to be playing as well. One thing I have seen is Ben Sinnott. I have seen him do pretty well in practice. Ja'Cory Brooks has been doing pretty well in individual drills. They've kind of been sitting him out a little bit in the team drills to get other guys more reps. I think they like what they're seeing from Ja'Cory.
Yeah.
They just want to, space it out a little bit because they have a lot of guys that they need to watch.
Sure.
I am a little concerned about the wide receiver room because obviously we see Debo all over the field.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I still am concerned about some of the guys like Michael Gallup and Tay Martin. Tay has been doing, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of growth in him in practice, especially since after the cuts that Adam Peters made. I think that the guys now can see, like, it could be me. So I do feel like, that is setting in to the team a little bit more because Adam Peters is no joke. And like I said last podcast episode, I can appreciate that because we don't, if we want to win a Super Bowl, we cannot waste time. As much as I want to give players a chance to get themselves together and to showcase their talents, I really do feel like this is a team that is very hungry to win. And the only way that that's possible is if they put the best guys out on the line. And
Yeah.
for me, the wide receiver room is a bit of a concern, and it helps Terry's case a lot
Yeah.
because there are guys dropping balls in practice, like Chris Moore. There are guys, not doing the things consistently. We've seen that a little bit from Luke McCaffrey. However, I remind people all the time that he is his own person, and I want to see him grow as his own person, not like his brother. So
Sure.
there are some concerns, with the wide receiver room, and there are some concerns with the running back room. I know Bill is getting off of an injury. We've seen him with the no contact jersey on during practice, but I do think, it's something that is fixable.
Yeah.
It's not long lasting. Another guy that's been I've kind of had my eye on is actually it's Chris Rodriguez Jr. He's been doing okay in practice. I've seen, some improvements from him because he wasn't an exact standout in the beginning of camp, but all is not lost in that
Yeah.
position.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I would say that I agree. I think there's concern. The offense hasn't looked right. But it's also been that the offense hasn't really, we haven't seen the offense in its full capacity. I mean, I think that's kind of why Cliff Kingsbury said that in the last press conference that he had,
Right.
where he made some kind of comments like he doesn't have everybody. So, has there been a day where we've seen, well, obviously Terry hasn't been there, but has there a day, we haven't had Tunzel out there every game, or every practice. Coleman's been hurt. Like, there's
Yes.
just been bits and pieces of people who aren't there. Ertz has, rest days. So, like, we have not seen them all together as one, not once. Like, there hasn't been any time of that. And so I agree with you. If there's any concern for me, it's two areas, and it's probably the O line and the receiver group. And I'm not really
Yes.
that concerned about the O line because I feel
Yeah.
like it's mainly because, like I said, they just haven't been a full
Yeah.
unit yet, and I think that they're trying a lot of different people out. But the receiver room, it is kind of interesting because it's like if I was the coach, I'd be happy with seeing the progression of Tay Martin and Ja'Cory
Yeah.
Brooks, but I also don't think that they're ready for like the limelight. They need like a year of seasoning to like get to that point. It's kind of like where Luke was last year, where they
Yeah.
like Luke, but they're like, hey, he needs like some time to get together. I
I
think with
agree.
Luke, like they're probably hoping for more, and I think that Luke has had a kind of up and down camp. But I do
Yes.
think that like throughout, he just needs to build a little bit more confidence. I think it's just been
Yeah.
like a little bit all over the place. Debo has been insane in practice. I think that's the only person that's been super consistent. And then yeah, like you have some of these older guys that are just not really playing up to form. So when you think about who's going to really be like a game changer when it comes to the season starting, I think Debo's the only one that you can for sure say he's ready to go because Terry
Yeah.
hasn't been out here, Noah Brown hasn't been practicing
That's
either,
another
and
big
then
thing.
and then the rest of the guys are kind of like they either just haven't been performing at the elite level that they're hoping for, or they're just like kind of young guys that they're kind of like hoping that will transition more in the future. So that's my biggest thing is that like I think the other element of it is defense. I think the defense actually has played well. I
They
honestly
have.
think we're going to be surprised on the difference the defense is from last year to this year, and so
And
that's probably like a good transition here is to kind of switch over and talk about the defensive side of the ball. Unless you had like
yeah.
another comment. Did you have one more thing to
Yeah,
say?
no. The defense, honestly, like we've talked about before, defense has one camp. That's
Hmm.
just the biggest
Yeah,
thing. And we
yeah, I
also have to
agree.
keep in mind that camp and Abdullah, you had to remind me of this too, because I was like, offense, what's going on? But
Hmm.
camp is designed for the defense to win in a way, because the
I don't
offense
know if it's
structures.
designed. I don't know if it's designed for it, but it is normal for the defense to be ahead of the offense,
Yeah.
like early on in camp. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things too, Dan Quinn said that he was impressed by Kinlaw and that he was also
Hmm.
impressed by Will Harris during camp. And Will Harris
Yeah.
has been a name that is, I think, also too underrated in camp. I've seen a lot of guidance in him as a safety, and I think he's growing into where Joe Witt Jr. wants him to be. And I think
Hmm.
it's getting better for him. Now, Abdullah, real quick.
Yeah.
One guy that won't be playing in the preseason game, they said, is Jordan McGee. And
Yeah.
everybody were kind of ringing about that on
Hmm.
Friday, kind of like, well, why? And I was
Yeah.
kind of excited to see him too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been hurt, and it's
Hmm.
it's tough because he just has a lot of promise. We've heard his name
Yeah,
so much last camp, this camp, and it's just like we haven't been able to see him play. And this is where injuries is such an element of the game that people forget. Like some of the best athletes or best players are guys who have been able to avoid injury because there's some really talented people who just can't stay on the field. And I'm not saying that Jordan McGee's that, but it is disappointing because people want to see him, and it's the reason why they're looking at backers and they signed Duke Riley. Like
yeah,
that's one of the things is that like these are the times that people are able to shine a little bit more because you get excess amount of opportunities. Because the thing that happened with Jordan McGee last year was that he was playing well, but then when he came back, it was kind of like they already kind of got into motion of who was playing in the rotation, and so it kind of just didn't give him really a real shot of kind of breaking through, playing in that starting defensive role. So like Jonathan Jones also is not playing. So they have some people
yeah,
who are not playing. They're not playing Von Miller. But I think, when it comes to our assessment of the team, defensively, I think they played really well. And I think that that's where, look, the head coach and Joe Witt are strong defensive coaches that they are the reason why the Cowboys were so good these last few years is because of that.
exactly.
The Legion of Boom when Quinn was in Seattle, like he's always been known for having good defenses, and now they're really starting to get those guys that really cater to what they want to do, and that might be what this is that we're seeing the defense bolster up and catching up to where the offense was last year. The offense was really good last year, and I think with the moves that they made, we are anticipating them even being better, but they still have to gel together, and I think that the defense is maybe gelling a little bit more. But you're right, it's like early on in the season, we always expect defenses to kind of be ahead. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
most of the games are lower scoring games early on. It takes a while for these teams to catch up, but yeah, I mean, I've been really happy with the defense. I think it's one of those one if you're a little if for those who are a little nervous about the offense, I think you got to be excited about the defense, and that's like talking. I talked to David Harrison for a while from Locked On Commanders, and we were talking about how just discussing the offensive struggles, and he was kind of more of like, hey, the defense looks good, so maybe that's the
Yeah.
reason why. And it sounded like though the offense, or it sounded like the Commanders didn't have the greatest practice against New England, but it did sound like the offense played pretty well, and it also sounded like the defense didn't play that great. So like we're just gonna have to wait and see. It's easy. It's kind of hard to judge these guys when they're playing against each other because it could be like one side looks good because the other side isn't doing so well. You know what I mean? And so it's really hard to tell. And I think that's what we're hoping to kind of see, in this game against Cincy, even though, it might be only starters in like the first few series or not.
Yeah.
But it'll be nice to see. They'll get a test for sure. The defense is going
Yeah.
to get a test because they're playing against Jamar Chase and
Yes.
Joe Burrow, and those guys were killing it in the first preseason. They're insanely talented. I mean, this is like the highest level of offense that you could go for in the preseason. So
Yeah. And outside of and
yeah.
outside of I would say the Buffalo Bills, Joe Burrow has been one of the only teams on the east side to kind of beat Kansas City, which is hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, they're like they had a rough year last year, and their
Yeah.
biggest problem is defense.
Yeah.
They just like last year they just couldn't stop anybody, but their offense was incredible. Like Joe Burrow had insane numbers, Jamar Chase had insane numbers, so they're a powerhouse in the AFC. Their
Yes.
record did not show it that well, and they made a good run at the end of the year last year. But yeah, no, this is a talented team coming in, and it's one that for me, I get excited about because yeah, we just want to see some real good football, and we get to see the ones versus the ones, good on good.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk about the special teams. So like
Yes.
what's your thoughts on special teams? Are you expecting? I mean, look, they were terrible in the last game.
They
So,
were.
what do you expect? You think that there's going to be a mass change? Like, you think that they're going to produce well? Do you think we'll have more struggles? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't say a mass change. I mean, I will say that I do believe that there will be some improvement because I'm not gonna lie, Dan Quinn and this team took the comments from the last preseason game very personally. And I could
Yeah,
see it. Even some of our other fellow reporters were telling me that they could see that he was generally annoyed by those special team questions because it's like, it is preseason. It is the time where they're still learning and still trying to figure out how they gel together. But at the same time, that was the only real big critique that everybody had from the first preseason game. Although they lost by 30, it was still a very personal thing. And, one thing I do like about Dan Quinn is once he sees a problem, that's the end of it. It's
yeah.
automatically getting fixed.
Yeah, he's very prideful. I think that this is where, I think these guys make a lot of money, and you can tell that some people go into this as a business, like they're just trying to get paid,
Right.
But then you also have people who you can tell they're taking it very seriously. Like, Dan Quinn kind of gives that nerd vibe of like he's very into football. He just loves the game and wants to critique, his team as best as he can. And I think that's where you see a lot of these moves that have happened recently. I mean, a lot of these guys are guys that I'm like, are these guys going to actually make the team, or are they going to be, I feel like they're doing a tryout for special teams types players, because
Yeah,
they brought in a couple corners, some linebackers, a safety, like
they did.
positions that are kind of already solidified on this team, like
Yeah.
corner is solidified. Like, I mean, the guys that they brought in, it would be really hard for them to make the team. Like, even Craycraft on offense, like, these are all players that maybe they can make a run, but I promise you, you make a run when you're one of these like fringe players, if you're good on special teams, it gives you an opportunity to make the team so much higher. It's the same thing that happened with Tyler Owens last year. I mean, he was so good at special teams that they
Right.
kept him. And so, that's where I think out of everything that's going to happen, tomorrow, I think most of it is going to be centered. The most important thing that we could see is that their special teams has been night and day in comparison to how they kind
Yeah,
of played last week. Because, we're going to probably see the starters for like a quarter at most, like a quarter, I
yeah,
think. So it's we're going to see a lot more of the younger guys or just the guys who are trying to make a spot. So we might not be super floored by the way their offense or defense performs. So
exactly.
special teams is the one that needs to be much better overall. So,
Yeah. And
yeah. So
special teams
yeah, go
is
ahead.
like, not to cut you off, and
Yeah,
special
no,
teams
go
is
ahead.
like the position the position in a game to also help when both sides are down. And I think,
Yeah,
that speaks a lot to just how this team is growing. For them to take a problem area and to really focus it on, like in practice yesterday, we were talking, special teams, obviously they do team drills every practice,
yeah,
whether it's
yeah.
7-on-7 or 11-on-11s. But special teams, ever since that preseason game, that's probably like the main thing before they even split in position into position group drills. That's probably like the first thing or the last thing that they go to. They'll like start with it and then end on it during
Yeah,
practice. And I
yeah.
think that's really important that they're taking it very seriously, because not only do they want to win, but they also want to provide improvement. In order for these players to grow, there has to be some form of improvement, and there's going to be a challenge. There's a lot of expectations here, and I feel like, especially to playing teams like Philadelphia or Kansas City this year, your special teams is going to have to
Yeah,
be top notch against those Super Bowl
a hundred
caliber
percent.
teams.
100%. I mean, you have every play matters, and there's three phases to the game, and special teams might be the most underrated version of or phase of the game, but like it's
Yeah,
definitely important, and it can make or break a team. We've seen games be won or lost because of special teams. So,
exactly.
yeah, look, I mean, I think that that's what we're going to be very locked in on. There's a lot of things we'll be locked in on, but that's definitely one of them. So yeah, okay. So basically, kind of like to wrap this video up, because obviously there's not much to talk about. We've seen the offense, we've seen them in practice. We're just kind of ready for a game. So there'll probably
Yeah.
be a lot more analysis afterwards, but what's the thing that you're hoping to see? What's something that you're hoping to see, and what's something that you believe will probably happen? Whether it's like a certain player is going to stand
Mhm.
out, or what I mean, just things that you're like hopeful to see, and just something that you're like, I really believe this might come to fruition.
I'm hopeful to see, well, I'll say it in these spurts.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful to see, obviously, Josh Connolly Jr. I do want him to have another good
Hmm.
game. He had a good preseason opener. I thought that was really good for him,
Yeah.
just to not only be on the NFL field for the first time, but to also be able to experience what an NFL push looks like.
Yes.
And I think doing that with Jaden will not only be another challenge for him, but it's something that he can overachieve
Hmm.
and, get used to, because he is young and he's going to be hopefully in this franchise for a long time. So
Yeah.
I do hope that he does get that good experience tomorrow and
Uh huh.
protect the lanes as much as possible for Jaden.
Sure.
But also, I do want to see, some sparks from Ja'Cory Brooks tomorrow, and I do want to see something possibly from Jalen Lane.
Okay.
He's definitely a guy I want to see, because even yesterday, even though he dropped that
Hmm.
corner pass,
Hmm.
deep, and Jaden threw it to him, the
It was close.
potential
It was
the
close.
potential between them two is very strong. Like,
Yeah, like it's one of these things where that like they're getting close to getting on the same
yes,
page, and when they do, it could be really big for this team.
yes.
So wait, what's your prediction? Like a thing that you predict will happen? Anything. It could be small, it can be big.
Hmm. I have a couple of predictions.
Hmm.
Not sure if they will happen,
Hmm.
but I want to say that I can see Jaden scoring his own touchdown,
Yeah,
or one of the
like a
wide
running.
receivers. Yeah, like, or one of the wide receivers, like Debo or Ja'Cory Brooks or even Jalen Lane, scoring a touchdown tomorrow. I want to
Yeah,
see.
yeah. Okay, so those are great. I think
Or
when
Tay
it comes
Martin. slightly.
Yeah, and it's funny. I like Tate Martin. He's been getting some first team reps. I wonder if he can. That sixth spot for the receiver group is going to be super intriguing. I really don't know who's going to win it.
I
It's
am
going to be very,
worried
very tough. Yeah, I don't
because
know.
that's going
There's
to
a
be
lot of people.
interesting.
We like a lot of these guys, and
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to win it. But yeah, I would say the thing that I'd like to see is I really would like to see the DBs have a strong showing against these
Oh,
receivers.
yes.
I mean, you have if they play their starters, what it looks like, if you can play well against T Higgins and Jamar Chase, and I think they have Mike Gesicki at receiver or at tight end. If they
Yeah.
can play well against this receiving group, I would be very happy because it kind of goes, from what we've been talking about. The DBs, I think, is going to be the strongest part of this defense, and this is their biggest test that they're going to have. They didn't do super well against the Patriots, especially in that the joint practice. It sounded like they kind of struggled a little bit. So let's see a little bit of redemption by them going against, a really strong receiver group. And then my prediction is that there's a lot of talk about the offense not looking so great. I think the offense is going to come out and look very good. Granted, it's Cincy's defense. I don't know how great Cincy's defense is because they weren't
Yeah.
that great last year, so they could still not be so great. I don't know if Trey Hendrickson is going to play, considering there's talks about him potentially wanting a trade.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they can, I think that the offense is going to come out, and I think they're going to look good, and I think they're going to have maybe like two series. I think they'll score on one of them. I'm going to predict that Debo scores because I just feel like if somebody is going to make a play on this
And
offense
be
right now
Debo.
that's outside of Jaden, it's Debo. But I would love to see Jalen Lane. I think that would be also fun because I do think that there's a strong potential of a connection there also. And hopefully Luke. I think Luke, the biggest thing with Luke is his confidence right now. I really don't think he's a bad player. I think he's just losing a little bit of confidence just from what we've
Yeah.
seen in practice. But I think he's a good player, and I think it would be nice for him to get a little bit of that back. So there's more pressure on him. It's his second year, so a lot of people are kind of like, hey, we want to see something from you. And I think that he just needs to get the ball rolling just a little bit. So,
Yeah. One thing I did want to
yeah.
mention about Luke too, he didn't really play in the preseason game, but when he did, he actually caught a pass from Sam. So
Well,
I'm
he
not.
caught the screen pass, and it was
Yeah.
kind of like a bad throw. It just wasn't a great
Yeah.
play for the catch that he had. So it's just kind of like, and he didn't play a lot because he was sick. So it's just
Yeah.
it's not that he's playing so bad. It's just people want more. And like I said, it
Yeah.
was like last year he was the Ja'Cory Brooks of last year. He was the Tay Martin of last year. Where it's like, oh,
Right.
these guys look kind of promising. We'll wait and see. And he did okay at the beginning of the year, but just kind of
Right.
tailored off. Like we didn't see much of him. And since he was a third round draft pick, people are expecting even more. So now they're like, yo, there's talks about him and Sinnott. Like him and Sinnott, people are like, hey, we need to see more from those guys because there was an investment in them. They were high picks last year. So it
Absolutely.
is one of these things where there is pressure. I think they're feeling a little bit of that pressure. And I think that like the best way to get away from that pressure or relieve that is to make a play. And if he can make a play on this scale, it'd be great going into the season.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, look, I think for the most part, it's going to be exciting. I mean, just to get
Yeah.
some football out there and get under the lights. I think we all kind of wish it wasn't a Monday night game because, like,
Yeah.
normally Monday night games are fun and they're great because everybody's watching. Not really in the preseason,
Yeah.
like the
Not really.
preseason. Yeah, not ideal for preseason. So, obviously, we'll have photos out to you guys. We'll try to do a review video the next day. It might take a while because I got a day job. I got to go to my day job that morning. But at the end of the night, we should have like some kind of video out about the performance of the
Yeah.
team. But yeah, any thoughts or anything you want to say before I let you go?
Yeah, definitely, I do understand that there is a lot of concerns surrounding Terry, surrounding the offense, surrounding will the DBs perform as well. One thing I want to say, Commanders fans, is there's nothing too bad to worry about. These
Yeah.
are good things. This is a good team. These are great players, great coaching staff, great front office.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Yeah, I think it's like, people already,
Hmm.
I think people already are like, Like everybody was just super happy with what happened last year. The expectations have already been risen, and people are already ready for like the next best thing. And I get it, man. Like
Yeah, I get it too.
last year was fun and all, but the only problem with
Yeah.
last year is that they went so far that now people are like it's either Super Bowl or bust, and so they're just very
Right.
harsher. Like the people are harsh, man. So it's like have some
Mhm.
patience. I feel very confident in this organization, which is the biggest thing, is that you see people like Dallas and you got to question where their organization's mind's at because they make so many weird moves. I
Yes,
feel
they
like
do.
here people might be frustrated at AP, like, oh, pay Terry. It seems like they're doing all they need to do to build the best team. And so
I
yeah, for
understand
those
that
fans
too.
that are maybe frustrated, it's like let's just wait and see how things play out and
Right.
let them play. And even with the offense, like the offense might have struggled, but Jaden hasn't been able to run this whole off season. Like that's
Right.
a big part of his game where it's like, hey, it's 3rd and 5. He might not find anybody, but he might run
Yeah.
for like 40 yards. So like,
They've been
let's just
forcing
wait.
his arm too in
Oh yeah, and
practice.
he's
Forcing the
like why
arm.
yeah, why run in practice? It doesn't help anybody. You know what I mean? You might as well try to figure out what kind of receivers are out there, and then when the game starts, like yeah, if the guy's not open, take off. So we'll see. I definitely think that it's one of those things where like practice doesn't always tell you exactly what's going to happen when the games start. So
Actually.
we'll see. But anyways, thank everybody for joining us. We'll have another video out tomorrow probably, but everybody have fun. If you're going to the game, have fun.
Yes,
We'll
and
try to
be
give you.
safe.
Yeah,
Be
exactly.
safe
Be
going to the
safe.
game.
It's been crazy in the DMV recently, for obvious reasons. So everybody just be safe out there. Have fun. If you like our content, please follow us. Subscribe, all of that. We'll be trying to give you as much content as possible of the game. Yeah, we'll see you soon. All right, peace.